It's always more fun to share with everyone.
Hi, welcome to Java Joel and Jesus. Glad you're able to watch today. You know, last week we talked about materialism. We talked about the fact that this time of year often we really see materialism rear its ugly head. Something that a lot of us struggle with, getting caught up in stuff. And I'm going to kind of piggyback on that topic, and I want to talk also as we look at this time of year. I want to talk about what we just call contentment. What does it mean to be content? Because I think when we look at materialism, I think that our lack of contentment is what often leads us to seeking after all kinds of stuff. And we see it all over in our culture. We're trying to fill ourselves with stuff so that we feel okay and feel good about our life. We're seeking a happiness or a joy or some kind of an inner peace through stuff. We think that if we just get this latest thing, if I can just have this, or if my circumstances could change in such a way, then I would really feel a sense of contentment. You know, a sense of contentment is just simply when we feel at peace inside of us. There's a peace and a freedom inside of us with the circumstances that we're in currently. We're not looking to get out of the circumstances. We're not looking to change the circumstances. But we find a peace and a joy in the midst of those circumstances, whatever they are. That's a contentment. And I think as we look at Christmas this year, sometimes we need to do some deep soul searching and ask the question, how content am I? And if I'm content, where am I finding my contentment? Maybe you're temporarily content because you're getting lots of stuff, and it's sort of like a temporary high that you get. You know, you get a new iPod, or you got a new computer, and wow, I've got a new boyfriend or a girlfriend, and things in my life are going really well right now, and you're kind of on this high, and you might be temporarily content. But do you have a contentment that goes beyond those things, beyond stuff, beyond relationships? Just you alone, do you have a sense of contentment, that freedom inside, that peacefulness, that I'm happy with where I'm at? I have a joy right where I stand. As I was thinking about this topic, I was reminded of a passage that the Apostle Paul wrote in the book of Philippians, where he talks about being content. And I want to read that passage to you. It's in Philippians chapter 4, and it begins in verse 10. It says, I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you have been concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content in whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. See, Paul says, you know what? I've had times where my circumstances, I had plenty. I had more than I needed. But I've also been in situations where my circumstances where I didn't have much. I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. I didn't have stuff. But he says, I have learned to be content in any and all situations. Wow, what a statement. We're going to take a break, and we'll look at our random fact of the week, and I'm going to come back and reveal where it is that Paul found his contentment. Oh, hey! Hey, welcome to the random fact of the week. Just doing a little jumping here because our random fact has to do with jumping. Did you know that a flea can jump 350 times his body length? 350 times his body length. That would be the same as a human being being able to jump the entire length of a football field. I would love to have those kind of abilities. That's the random fact of the week. Hey, welcome back. Hey, we've been talking about contentment. And we just looked at some verses where Paul reveals that he knows the secret to being content. He's found contentment. No matter if he's rich or if he's poor, no matter what his circumstances are, he found that he could be content. And I want to read the end of the passage. We're in Philippians chapter 4, and we've looked at verses 10, 11, and 12. But now I want to look at verse 13. This is a popular verse that people use it all the time. I see it a lot in athletics. People, use this verse or write this verse on their hand, or it's kind of a theme verse. But in context here, it's really interesting what Paul's talking about. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, he says, "I can do all things through him who gives me strength." See, I think what Paul shows us there is that secret that he's learned. He says in verse 12, "I've learned the secret of being content in any and all circumstances." And I think the secret is Jesus. He's come to a place and he's realized, I'm walking through life with Christ beside me, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now that doesn't mean that Paul is saying that whatever he wants to do, he can just go out and do, and God will give him the strength. I think what he was saying was, whatever God brings me to do, whatever God desires me to do, whatever his will is, whatever circumstance I find myself in, I can deal with it because Christ is walking with me. So where do you find your contentment? Is it in stuff? Is it in things? Is it a temporary high? Or do you find your contentment in Christ, knowing that no matter what you face, no matter what you go through, you can face that thing in the strength of Christ because he's with you. He will empower you. He will give you the strength and the ability to face whatever it is you're facing. Well, I hope you have a great week. We'll hope to see you Wednesday night. We're having an outreach here Wednesday night at youth group. We're going to show the movie To Save a Life. So we'd love for you to invite your friends. We're going to have Subway sandwiches and just have a great time. We're going to start at 6 o'clock and be done at 8:30. And hopefully just have a great evening. So have a great week.
It's always more fun to share with everyone. It's always more fun to share with everyone.